This is how I made $35,000 last month. I was able to do this selling life insurance all while from the comfort of my own home at 23 years old. I share this with you guys not to flex, but to purely just show you what's actually out there and what's possible. Now, selling life insurance is not easy by any means. However, as long as you're willing to put in the work, the rewards are limitless. In this video, I'm gonna share with you guys how I started from zero and scaled up to a $35,000 a month life insurance agency. Now, when I first started selling life insurance, I was only 19 years old. I had zero sales experience at all, but I always knew that I was meant for more. I grew up in a small country farm town in northern Illinois, and I knew that there was more out there than what was in DeKalb, really. I had nothing against it. I just knew that I needed to get out. So 1 month after graduating high school, I just picked up everything, packed everything into a car, and I drove out to LA because I wanted to do something bigger and better with my life. I'm 18 years old at this point, and I didn't know a single person out there. It was a brand new environment for me. And I knew that in the fall, I was going to register for community college. In high school, I ran track and I was really good at hurdles. I did have some opportunities to run track for different colleges. However, those colleges were not colleges I really wanted to go to. They weren't really big. They weren't really anything too special. However, I did make a connection and I did know one of the hurdle coaches at UCLA for their track team. So I did a college visit. I was gonna just walk on and try out for the team, and the coach said I had a really good chance of making the team. Long story short, none of that stuff really panned out, but I still had my mindset on moving to LA. I wasn't gonna let that stop me. So I still moved out there and I started working at a juice bar. It was a place called Movida. Think of it as like a Jamba Juice and a Starbucks mixed together. I was making no money. I was paying $7,000 a semester to go to a community college out there. I was studying business and I dropped out because I realized that none of my business professors owned any businesses. So at that point, I was like, this is stupid. I'm learning from the wrong people. I need to go find a mentor. It took me a while to find a mentor, but this is actually how I got into the life insurance space. Is during COVID, all of the schools closed. Then I was also working a job as a server at a restaurant, so I had 2 jobs at the time. Because of COVID, I lost my job at the restaurant. So then I was having to work as a welder. I took welding in high school, and shout out Dave Elliott, the welding instructor at our high school. Him and his class saved my butt. I was able to get into welding and I absolutely hated it. I had to be there at 5 a.m. I would work until 4:30 p.m. It was very long hours. I was standing all day long just in a shop, cutting metal, welding metal, and doing all those things. The fun days were install days. I would drive out to mansions in Los Angeles. We welded gates, those mechanical gates that open up and close in front of these mansions in LA. I welded those, and then our team and I went to go install them. And being in these neighborhoods with just 35, 40, $50 million homes, $30 million homes, $10 million homes, it just expanded my view. And I was like, these people are able to buy a $50 million house, and I'm working for $25 an hour, busting my butt in the heat, installing a gate for these guys. This is wrong. This is not okay. And at that point, I vowed that I was gonna do something to make a lot of money so that I could switch places with them. I wanted to be able to drop thousands of dollars on a mechanical, beautiful gate in front of my mansion. So I did what I thought was the smartest thing to do at that time. I talked to the developers, the guys who are building these houses and the guys who owned the houses. I would talk to the homeowners. I would talk to the developers because sometimes there would be new construction. And after talking to a specific developer named Fred, I realized that he made all of his money in financial services. He was a life insurance agent. He used to sell insurance. He made a ton of money from insurance. And then what he ended up doing is he ended up building these houses, then selling them for $50 million, for $30 million, for $10 million, depending on the neighborhood that we're in. And at that point, I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I put my head down and I just got into insurance. And in my first 8 months, at 19 years old, selling insurance, I made $200,000. And I had zero prior sales experience. Now, I just had a different work ethic and I was an animal. So I put my head down and I literally disappeared for those 8 months. People were texting me, they're asking me to hang out, all these things. I was saying no every single time because I was putting everything that I had into being the best life insurance agent I could possibly be. I was creating content, teaching people what infinite banking is, teaching people how to become their own bank, making educational videos about whole life, about IULs, about the Rockefellers and how the Rockefellers leverage cash value life insurance policies to create generational wealth. I was doing all of these things. And for the first few months, it really started off with me just learning the product and talking to people and letting them know that this is what I do, right? What is advertising? Advertising is letting it be known what you offer, what your products and what your services are. And that's exactly what I did. I talked to everybody that I knew. I went and spoke in front of people. I created content. I went to networking events. I let it be known the products and the services that I offered. And it's really a volume game. Regardless of what you're doing in sales, it is a volume game. You need to get in front of as many people as you can and sit down with as many clients as you can and submit as many deals as you possibly can. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was sitting down with an average of 8 to 12 people a day. And I was closing probably 75 to 80% of those. So I was closing 5 to 8 policies every single day. Sometimes weekends too, but weekends I wouldn't really work. But now I work weekends because now I run an entire team. And so at first I was just selling. That's all I was doing was selling. I got extremely burnt out. After giving the same pitch, talking about the same product 5 to 8 to 12 times a day, I just got so burnt out that my business really plateaued. So I started off making, $20 to $30,000 a month selling insurance, and then I went down to like zero. Almost an entire year went by where I wasn't making a ton of money and I wasn't even really actively selling insurance anymore. Then I decided to come back, but with a different mindset. I decided that I was gonna build an agency. I was gonna teach people what I did to sell life insurance and build out a team. Now I have a team of guys that sell alongside of me, and now I'm making $35,000 a month passively from my life insurance agency, not from me actually sitting down closing the deals every single day. Now my life is completely different. I could never go back to a 9-to-5 job. I make an unlimited income potential. I get to make as much money as I want based on the amount of work that I put in and the skill set that I have. That's why in business, you always hear people talk about personal development and why personal development is so important, because you're getting paid based off of your knowledge and based off of your skill set. So when you are improving yourself and getting better at sales, getting better at marketing, getting better at communication, getting better with your people skills, all those things, that is going to directly help you make more money. And you can never hit a point where you're like, okay, this is the best I'm ever going to be. No, you can always continue to grow. You can always continue to get better, which is why you can always make more and more and more money. That you cannot do in a 9-to-5 job. You can only make a finite amount of money. It's based off of the X amount of dollars you're making per hour and then how many hours you put in. And this is why I also didn't want to sell anymore, because I was plateauing and only selling, because I could only meet with X amount of people in a day because there's only X amount of hours in a day. So now I was blocked off by the time constraint based off of how much money I could make, and I didn't want that to happen. So then, again, that falls into the mindset of, instead of just selling insurance, I was gonna go out and actually build an insurance agency. Because with the agency, I get 24 hours in a day, and then every guy who I add on to my team, I multiply that by that person. So 24 hours in a day times 50 people, you have a shit ton of hours in a day, which means that you can make more money and bring in more revenue into your agency. With that being said, guys, if you think that you have what it takes to get into sales, if you know that you're meant for more, if you want to get out of your 9 to 5, if you want to live a life with time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom, I extend the invite to use the link in the bio to book an interview with me, and I will interview you and see if you would be a good fit to join our team. I will teach you how to sell, I'll teach you how to market yourself, and I'll also teach you how to build out your own life insurance agency.